Hello and welcome to episode 7 of the Chatty Runners podcast. 7. That's one for every single day of the week, you lucky people. Anyway, I'm sure you've listened to the previous 6 episodes. If not, then you can find them on Apple, Spotify, Amazon and YouTube. So it's my turn to do the intro. So let me introduce you to a man who's completed 2 world major marathons and is such a social media influencer that it's rumoured that he was the man who pulled the plug on MySpace. It's Andre.
Hello.
So Andre, how's your week been?
It's been good. Get back into the swing of proper running, what feels like having a 40 plus kilometre week. So it's been a good week.
Oh, that's good. And you're suffering a little bit from an injury, aren't you?
Yeah, I've got a hamstring issue. So I bought an infrared heater a couple of days ago. So I was sitting in front of it last night at like 11 o'clock. And it feels a bit better today, so probably a bit later on I'll have another bout of it.
Well, good to see that you're on the mend. And of course, we couldn't do it without the senorita who liked the Seville Marathon so much she did it 2 years in a row. And I think possibly that's down to her dislike of any incline over 1%. It's Sophia. Hello, Sophia.
Hello.
How are you? How's your week been?
I'm good. I've had a busy week, but yeah, all good. I did 3 strength sessions this week, so I'm feeling very smug.
Feeling pumped. And me? Little on me. Well, I'm Dan, and I'm living proof that if you talk about running long enough, someone will eventually give you a podcast mic. Which leads us very nicely onto the 3 of us doing this podcast and why we do it. We love to talk about running, and we're not going to do that thing where we all say running at the same time because we've not managed to coordinate that one yet, have we? And so, should we crack on with this? So, like any long effort, we need to do a warm-up. So let's move into our warm-up. This is the Chatty Runners podcast. And this week's warm-up question is, what is the one piece of tech /kit /running aid that has completely changed the game for you? So, Andre, let's start with you.
The piece of kit that completely changed the game for me was my Coros Arm heart rate monitor, because I used to use a chest strap like so many other people. It was accurate, but I've never ever found them particularly comfortable. And I always feel like I was always aware of just wearing one. So wrist-based like heart sensors don't work for me as soon as I start running. I think it's most likely because of my complexion. So it's never been reliable, but I'm a data person, so I just want that heart rate data. So tried it, and it gives you that accurate heart rate data. It feels much more comfortable, and I think that is the thing that changed my running game a little bit compared to anything else.
And that's the one that goes around your arm, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, and I've got it in orange.
Yeah, it looks kind of cool on there, I have to admit. I sometimes use a chest strap, but I don't like it because I've got a little bit of a bone at the top in the middle of my rib cage, and it pokes in a bit, and it feels horrible. So I'll use it when I have to. And so, Sophia, which piece of tech /kit /running aid has changed the game for you?
I mean, this feels like it happened quite a while ago now, and it's also quite a big game changer, I guess, for like running shoes generally. But carbon plates, I just love them. I love a carbon plate, a super shoe. When I remember when I started running, and it was like the Nike Pegasus 28s or something like it was a long time ago. But just thinking back to what it was like running in those shoes, it's just a world away from what it's like now running in, either the super trainers that don't have a carbon plate but are amazing, or the shoes that do have carbon plates and are even better.
I mean, technology has moved on dramatically in trainers recently, last few years. I mean, Nike have been at the forefront, but the Adidas that Sebastian Sawe wore to win and break the 2-hour record at London Marathon was an amazing piece of equipment. I'll tell you what mine is, and it's quite simple and straightforward and boring. It's socks with toes in them. I've only recently been a convert to this, particularly on my long runs. I don't wear them on all runs because I've got a lot of socks that I've accrued over the years, shall we say. But I've now got 2 pairs of these toe socks, and they look really weird on. They feel really weird on. But so far, touch wood, no blisters on my long run. And I've done a few long runs in them and they've been absolutely brilliant, which it was after Manchester. That was the worst thing for me, was kind of walking with those blisters on, because they were really very painful. And anything that saves me from that is all good. So that's my lifesaver.
I've never tried them, but I know people who run ultras wear them, so I can see that, that they know best when it comes to foot care and how to keep your feet happy over long distances. So I don't doubt that, they're a good move.
I could almost show my feet in public soon. Some of the toenails are still a little bit black from previous marathons, but yeah, the blisters are kind of are good. So there we go. 3 very different pieces of tech that have impacted our runs in a very, very different way. So that is the warm-up done. This is the Chatty Runners podcast.
So we're now into the main topic of today's podcast, and that is running influencers. So if you love them or if you hate them, they're probably here to stay, and we might be seeing even more coming in onto our social media platforms in the future too. From vlogging races to sharing trainer reviews, we've all got our favorite different types of content and our favorite creators. So in this episode, we're going to tell you all about who makes our favorites list. And we've got 3 picks each. I'll start with you, Dan. Who is your first on your list of favorite social media accounts?
Okay, so this is one that surprises myself even, because a few years ago I wouldn't even have considered them. But it's This Messy Happy. They are a couple, Ben and Mary Bridges, and I believe they live in Thailand now, but they've lived in the UK as well, and they go all around the world doing marathons and half marathons and long distance events. And their story's fascinating. So they started the This Messy Happy channel to document their life, because they were trying for a child, but they couldn't conceive. And I believe that, unfortunately, Mary had a couple of miscarriages, which is terrible. I can't imagine what that must be like. And they decided eventually that they couldn't go through the pain of this constant failure of not being able to conceive. And they turned it into a running channel. And Ben was doing a lot of triathlons as well, which obviously made me a lot more interested in them. Mary was doing running as well. And they in the early 2021, during the pandemic, they moved out to Thailand. They sold up everything, moved out to Thailand, and got teaching jobs. So they're both trained teachers, which is where a lot of this comes in. They are really good communicators. Some of the stuff they do on Instagram may look a little bit overstated and cheesy, but it gets the message across. Sometimes you don't want to be too subtle on Instagram, otherwise it doesn't grab people's attention. But I was lucky enough to meet them at the Manchester Marathon. I had a chat with them. They were lovely people, and had a really positive people, really nice. They also do training plans and coaching for people as well. So really a great couple. A lot of their videos are very instructional, very informative, tell you an awful lot about the basics of running, and they break a subject down and they tell you exactly what you need to know, not blind you with science like a lot of influencers try and do. So that's my choice. Ben and Mary Bridges, This Messy Happy.
You said then about the kind of instructional videos. Obviously, you've been running for a little while. Do you feel like their content is aimed at you? Do you feel like it's useful to see things that maybe you already know about running, but it's always good to be reminded of the basic principles, the good lessons that we should all be remembering? Or do you just appreciate that the content would be good for people who maybe are newer to running?
I would say it would be intermediate, so it wouldn't be beginners. So this is not running channel level. I would say it's just slightly a little bit higher. You could probably understand it, but you might get a little bit lost in some of the detail. It may scare a few people off because they do get a little bit technical, but for somebody like myself, it's good to get that information, have it explained to me in a way that I can understand, and it's very well communicated. You can tell they're teachers. They know how to communicate with people. So that's really good.
Yeah, I think I might follow them. If I don't, I'm going to obviously go look them up and make sure that I do. But I recognize the handle from seeing, I guess, maybe some more of the, like you say, kind of cheesy, funny videos that have probably gone viral or got lots of views, because I know them from kind of doing like skits and spoofs and just like funny little reels and things like that. I don't personally think I've seen anything that you're referring to in terms of instructional. You said obviously they do training plans and coaching. Do you feel like there's anything else they are pushing in terms of sponsorship, or do they come across as just entirely kind of there to share the knowledge and promote their own services, obviously, as coaches?
So they're not pushy about it. So they don't say you must subscribe, you must do this, you must do that. They are very laid back about it. Or it's like, yep, if you want to come and be coached by us, we've got some spaces, but if not, then that's absolutely fine as well. They seem very laid back about it all. And particularly as this is their main income, because they're no longer teachers, they really come across as not only people who know what they're talking about, but they actually go out there and prove it. They're tremendous athletes. So Ben ran the Manchester Marathon, and then a week later he went and ran the London Marathon. And Mary did the London Marathon as well. And I believe Mary is training for Chicago. She's very fast. I think she's getting down towards a sub 3 hour marathon, and she was up towards the 4 hours. That's an amazing, amazing achievement for anyone. It's really something to be admired. So that's the one thing. You could admire their athletic prowess as well.
Maybe we wait and see who your other two picks are before asking a bit more of a question potentially related to that. So, Andre, over to you. First out of your list of three.
My first pick is a guy who runs a channel called Jog On, and his name is Harry Morgan. So I started watching him just way before like Andre runs, or if even before that was like a glimmer in my eye. Just basically when I was looking for some inspiration to just start running. So I noticed one of his videos. It was like I'm trying to help someone. I think her name was Anne Marie get from 0 to a park run. So that video was like over like a series of videos, and as I said, I wasn't really a runner at the time. And, those type of videos of his just really resonated with me, because I suppose it made me feel like running was achievable, something that I could achieve. And the way that he is very community based, and he has like that community over competition sort of feel about his channel. And for myself, he inspires just ordinary people. And that's made me believe at the time that I could become a runner. Since then, I feel very part of the Jog On community. I always wear my orange wristbands, my Jog On stuff. At every race, I pretty much wear my orange Jog On socks as well. And I've met Harry several times as well, and he's just like, he's a really down to earth guy and everything like that. And his partner is I don't know whether you've heard, Louise Small. He refers to her as GB Louise, but she's competing for GB at the European Athletics Championships in the marathon. So I know she's got a marathon best time of 2:27.
That's crazy.
So she's elite. And going back to his videos, he's done like loads of like community like things. Like he's done like I'm just trying to read what's on my wrist. A jog on hour, jog on 3,000 kilometers, and then you do like a community video where you sort of encourage to like send in a video. And so even before I'd started doing, as I said, Andre runs or anything like that, I've been on some of his videos, and what I admire about him is like, he's very welcoming, very encouraging, and I said that community first, and it just inspires people to just get started.
Andre, I've got a question for you.
Yep.
As a creator, when you watch somebody like Harry producing a video, do you look at that and think, that's a good way of doing that? Maybe I could try that. Do you kind of, I wouldn't say copy, but do you look for inspiration in his videos and others' videos?
I do, yeah, I do. I think he's one of those. I think yourself is one of those people that I'm trying to find my style on YouTube without copying any others. But it's obviously important to take inspiration from different places. You're one of those people. Harry's definitely one of those people. I'm just trying to find a way of doing it. You might find in my content there might be little bits of people that are quite big in the running community, just while I try and find my place.
Somebody wants a nice coffee tomorrow, don't they?
I was going to say, we're waiting to see you do the Mary McCarthy wearing tiny shorts and dancing around. That could be your next influence. You mentioned that you watched his content as a beginner and you saw that he was supporting other beginner runners. Do you think it was almost more inspirational to you to see an established member of the running community helping a beginner rather than, for instance, just watching the person who's like, I'm doing Couch to 5K, come with me? Like, do you think it was seeing the new starter with someone supporting them was maybe more powerful or, interesting for you to watch than just a new starter on their own, struggling through it, but making progress?
I think so. I think definitely watching, particularly the series, the Zero to Parkrun series that I think it planted the seed before I even started thinking about running. So I think without finding Jog On when I did, I generally don't know whether I would have even continued running. So it was just a random video that just popped up on the YouTube algorithm. It knew me. It pulled up a video that it suggested that I watch, and I watched it, and since then I've loved all of his content, and I like him as a creator, that sort of thing. So
now I've heard of Jog On only from the physical events and communities around the country. I don't know if it's global, but I didn't know who was behind Jog On, but I definitely heard of Jog On. So yeah, it definitely speaks to the power of community. My first pick, on theme actually with Dan's choice, is another married couple account, which is Victoria and Dennis, otherwise known as We Run Knots. Smaller in terms of how many followers they've got, but I just, and a local choice too, obviously being Midlands based, but I just love the way they kind of share content. I think it's just their personalities really shine through in what they produce. And then, they're just such lovely, likable people. Everything's really just wholesome and positive, and even when they're having setbacks or injuries or things like that, there's always such a heartfelt positive vibe to it somehow. So yeah, I think they're great, and I actually love the fact that it's two perspectives on running. So if for instance, Victoria was injured and having a return to running, but Dennis was then focused on some other goals, and I think it's nice to have multiple journeys, but seen through the same overall lens. Yeah.
So how did you find them? Did they were they just on your feed? Was it something that was suggested to you through Instagram, or did you just see some of their content somewhere?
I actually think it was through the opportunity that I had to run Seville Marathon the first time, which was via the Running Channel, and another Running Channel community member was involved in that too. His name is Cy Hastings, Red Spoon Running on Instagram. Just give him a shout out too. He at the time was an ASICS front runner. So I think once I was connected to him, I then was exposed to more content from the various ASICS front runners in the UK. I think it's like UK and Ireland team, and We Run Knots are also ASICS front runners. So I think it was just, as Andre said, like the algorithms, they know who you're talking to. They know who you're talking to is talking to. I can't get that phrase out, but they know who might be in your extended network. And so it was around that time that I found them, but also lots of others in the front runner communities. I guess in terms of the connection between content creators, brands and business, that's probably a really good example whereby they are connected to a brand. They do wear ASICS kit, and they get some of that free and they talk about it. But I actually think that front runner sort of scheme is a really positive thing, because it does mean that people who do have, smaller followings get the chance to go to more events, collaborate with others who are in the front runner community, and get more experience, in running, and then be able to share that with more people too. I see it as a really positive thing. And at no point, you said it, Dan, at no point is it pushed. But yeah, I just see it as positive personally.
I know last year that I did try to apply for the ASICS frontrunner scheme, and I did actually get a message from it was either Dennis or Victoria saying and advising me what I should do and things like that. So it was quite a coincidence that you mentioned like their channel, because I immediately, I follow them, and I did the Great Birmingham Run last year. I know that I think Dennis did it as well, and he was cheering me on because he'd finished early before I did. Yeah, he spotted me in the crowd and he cheered me as well, and it was he just such a recognizable characters. They're so friendly and so genuine as well, aren't they?
Yeah, and maybe this is the thing as well with because the front runner community, there are, I don't know, 20, 30, a number of them. And I actually think that the ways in which they interact with each other then kind of overflows into how they work with the community at large. Like you say, that, exchange messages with you or I, and just really actually push that positivity out beyond their immediate sort of network of community members.
Can I go back to something you said there, Andre? Characters. I think all of the people that we've chosen, I've looked through them because obviously we consult on notes before the show. They are all characters. Even just looking through yours, Sophia, and yours were ones that I'd never heard of before. I'll be honest with you, I've heard of Harry Morgan, I've heard of some of Andre's, but yours were completely new. And I looked at them, I thought, those people have got character. They got attitude, they got swagger, they got positivity, and I think that's something that's come from at least two out of the three of mine. One of them's perhaps not what I would call positive rah rah rah, but we'll go into that later. Don't want to spoil the surprise.
No, I'm saying, should we go to that now, or do we leave it till the very end?
Let's leave that till the very end. He deserves to. Sorry, he or she, because it could be a woman. He or she deserves to have the and. So when Hollywood actors are involved in films, if they can't get the first name on the credits, then they get the and at the end. So if you're watching a TV series, you'll see all of the names come through, and then at the end it will be somebody really famous and important. It would say and such and such, and that's a lot of actors will only take a role if that's offered to them.
The headline.
These loving things. Anyway, I digress.
Let's have your other pick then.
My second pick, well, it's a gentleman by the name of Stephen Cousins, and his channel is called Film My Run. And Andre, I don't know if you've ever heard of this gent, but he is a really good filmmaker. So the way I found him, this is really, really weird, because I was suffering from really sore legs after running, and I was looking at shoe insoles, and I wanted a review of Inerta shoe insoles, and he was doing one. And there's a bit with Inerta in their adverts where they drop an egg onto the insole on a concrete and it bounces off it. And then they drop it on the concrete next to it in one shot to prove that, yes, look at how much shock this absorbs. And he did a test of that, and he did a test of them when they were old. And I was like, well, that's impressive. And from then on in, the algorithm said, well, if you like that, then you might like this video of him. Now, not all of the videos are ones that I will naturally agree with his opinion. For example, some of his videos on parkrun, he was critical when the stats were taken away at parkrun. And I didn't agree with that. And I stated my opinion in the comments, and I said, I don't think you're right on this one. And we agreed to disagree. But he has made some really good content. He was doing a half marathon in Lake Garda in Italy. And he did a very short video, just 10 minutes, running around Milan from various locations and telling you a little bit of the history, telling you about it. And I just thought, that's just such a simple video, so straightforward, no whistles, no bells, get in there, tell the story, get out again. And one of those creators who doesn't get enough views for the content that he makes. When you see the rubbish that's out there, the AI slop that gets hundreds of thousands of views, and then you watch something like that, and he did a 30-minute documentary that, quite frankly, if you'd have seen it on one of the sports channels, you would have just thought it was a professional broadcaster. And he does do videos, he does apps, I believe he does ultra marathons and things like that. He's worked with various people. He worked with Sarah from the running channel, I think, on Mont Blanc, the ultra long run on that one. Sorry, that's all I know about long distance. beyond marathon, it's like, it's just crazy. But he does that. He does shorts. I met him at the National Running Show this year, and I told him that I really liked his Milan video, and he was recording at the time. He was with another Ben Parks, who again, very good, but I didn't put him in my list. Sorry, Ben. And I literally said to him, he was recording, I said, oh, by the way, I loved your Milan video. And he recorded it, he put in his video for the show. And he was like, I said, I didn't pay for that. That's honestly, this guy's just come up and said this. And it was just the truth. And he was a nice, genuine guy. Lives down in Sussex. He's worked with Aubrey as well from the Running Channel a few years ago. And yeah, does some really, really good stuff. And he mixes it up. It's not just run vlogs. It's also stories about the running industry. For example, some of the ultra events, one of the companies went bankrupt earlier on this year, and he was talking about that. And he's just very, very good on camera. And it's just, he's done it for such a long time. He's done it for about 10 or 11 years, and he's just really, really very good at it.
You said he obviously does a lot of storytelling, sharing his runs and recording and documenting those of others. Does he give advice, or is it more just sort of objective, welcome in, take what you want from it? There's no sort of message or content or advice specifically that he's sharing.
So he's not like saying, well, to get this speed up, then you need to do this, that, and the other. He doesn't. That's not his thing. He is very much. I think he's probably capable of telling you what you need to do an ultra marathon or a marathon, and he has got the knowledge, but I just don't think that's what he wants to do. He's got other things to talk about.
Yeah. And I guess then the final questions were just around whether there's any kind of brand sponsorship, commercial aspects that come through in his content at all.
So Inerta are a brand that I use and he uses, and he spoke highly about at the in his National Running Show video, because they brought out a new pair of sliders to wear that are aid with recovery. He reviewed them, said they were really, really good. And so I went and bought myself a pair. I mean, they're a bit pricey, but with the discount codes, and this is what happens with a lot of influencers, a lot of people who are doing this running creation malarkey. You get all the codes and you can save money by just simply putting their name in. And I don't know whether they get a kickback or whether they get, whatever they get, I don't mind. It saves me money. I'm good with that.
Yeah. Okay. Andre, your second pick.
My second one is probably not a lot of people have heard him. He's called Mark Lewis, even though he's got like 400,000 YouTube subscribers.
A money-saving expert.
That's Martin Lewis. I found him around the same time as Harry Morgan. So I've said before, like before Andre Runs, before anything like that. Probably when I was looking for that fitness and running content, and just like Harry's, his video popped up. I think I might have watched it within a day or two, and his videos resonated with me because he was talking about a journey that he'd gone from his mid-30s, and I think he was coming up into his late 40s where he is now. And so at the time that he was talking about where his journey began was that he was in his mid-30s, he was overweight, he'd changed his life through running, and I actually saw myself in his videos, sort of thing. So that's where you'll probably find from all my choices that there's probably like a deeper meaning into all of the creators that I've chosen. I've watched one of his videos and I thought, I've always said to myself, if I have the feeling to want to go for a run, I'm just going to go for a run. Whereas watching Harry's videos planted the seed of could go for a run. Watching Mark Lewis's videos gave me inspired me to go for a run, or gave me the motivation to go for a run.
That's amazing.
And I remember, I can't remember the exact video, but I remember just watching his video thinking, yeah, he's just laid down all those things. He said he's done all these things, running, cycling, and he's like high rock stuff. And I was like, why can't I do, something like that? I really like the fact that he's different from other creators because he's a bit more raw, and he's honest, he's funny, he's talked in these videos like probably within the last couple of years that he takes testosterone, but he does it for medical reasons, not for any, let's say, performance enhancing reasons. And, he knows that he's going to get a lot of stick from doing that because of what people think about that sort of thing.
People need ADHD medication, and then that's a stimulant. So it's a thing. People do need different medications for their different symptoms. But obviously, if he's honest about it, that's good.
I know of Mark Lewis. I've watched a few of his videos. He is a very good communicator. So I believe he used to do stand-up comedy, and you can tell that because he's naturally funny. He's a very engaging character, and that's good. But going back to what you were saying about the testosterone, he also took the Ozempic or Wegovy, the magic jab that makes you lose weight, that suppresses your appetite. And that was quite interesting to watch. And he's happy to kind of challenge people who call him out in his comments. He's not afraid. He's a very brave man in that sense. And I know that his partner does a lot of YouTube stuff as well. And I believe they moved to the country and bought a house, and he's kind of like got a plan to do that up as well. So I think he's committed to this influencer lifestyle. Can you hear the exclamation marks when I say the word influencer? Because that's how I imagine I'm saying it.
You're saying it in italics.
Yes.
In terms, obviously, you said he's really funny, he's honest. Like, that does sound just like a great personality that is easy for people to connect to and is appealing to keep watching and seeing where his journey takes him next. Do you think the purpose of his content is just to entertain or just to share his journey so other people can see themselves in running? Or do you think it is to give advice and sort of try and help people? Do you get a sense of what his purpose is?
His philosophy has always been, and I think it's pretty similar to how my philosophy is. He's not trying to teach anyone anything. He's basically just saying, this is what I do, and I'm just going to show you what I do. And if you want to try it, go ahead and try it, that sort of thing. Yeah. And that's how all the content I create, that's my mindset. I don't want to teach anyone because there's so many different rules for so many different people. Not everything's going to work for everyone, but this is what I do. It might be right, it might be wrong, but you can watch it. I'm not trying to pretend to be perfect.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he does.
Or wrong doesn't really exist, does it? I think that's probably why I am in favor of more is better when it comes to people sharing content, because you then do just get a view of, oh, well, one thing works for one person, it doesn't work for the next. And yeah, I think it is good to have that diversity.
I'm keen to hear about your second choice, Sophia.
Yeah, maybe I'll go for my choice. Her account is probably focused on trying to help people and teach people and share messages that she's really passionate about. So my second choice is Train Smart Run Strong, which is Victoria Seckley, I think is how you pronounce the surname. She's based in the US, which is why Dan had never heard of her probably or came across her account beforehand. But she's, I think, was initially most popular on TikTok, but yeah, hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram as well. And she is, as the Americans call it, DPT, Doctor of Physical Therapy. In the UK, we would just know them as a physio, I think. Maybe there's a little bit of difference in the exact job title, but she essentially is a runner herself, a run coach, and her career is in making sure everyone has, a healthy physical body for the sport and the activity they're pursuing. So I find her account, I think, similar to what you just said, Andre. I think maybe because when I came across the account, there were some similarities in, just kind of perspective on things. And she was really openly sharing her sort of relationship with the mental aspect of things, the mindset aspect, the bit of performance anxiety around numbers. She actually got to a point where in races she would have kind of panic attacks when she felt herself getting out of breath because the effort was getting harder. And so she went through quite a long process working with therapists and really kind of peeling things back in terms of her relationship with running to understand, well, what is happening there? Why when it gets hard, is my body trying to protect itself by making me stop? And she had a lot of disappointments with slowing down to a walk or DNFing races. just things not going the way that she had wanted. And so she was just really openly sharing about how that was going and what she was learning through the process. So I think that was really inspirational. I definitely had a phase in my running where I was probably too attached to the numbers and feeling like I wasn't, I think I've said it before in a previous episode, like feeling like I wasn't going to get a PB would make me want to quit altogether. So I definitely felt some similarities with being too tied up in the numbers. And she talks a lot about obviously bone health and physical health for running. The risks of underfueling is massive, and she's a huge proponent for actually properly fueling runs. What I like is that she was one of the first accounts I saw that was really openly saying, this is exactly how many carbs I'm taking per hour. This is my body weight. This is how long I'm running for and the kind of paces. This is everything I'm fueling with. And when I compare that to other people that you kind of see, like maybe take one gel for the Paris Marathon and they're the same kind of body size or whatever, you just think, it's really good to see the perspective of someone who's really, really fueling well.
I think that's kind of key when you get somebody who is an expert in their field, rather than listen to, say, for example, I don't know, we all know about the comments that were made by a certain influencer who we're not going to name because he doesn't deserve any more naming and shaming. He knows what he did. And so the whole fueling correctly, getting the knowledge, and obviously we don't know what we don't know, and what works for one person doesn't work for another person. But it's good to know that somebody's done research, spent the years studying, and actually knows what they're talking about. Because a lot of the influencers we see on our feeds, they don't know what they're talking about. They may be reading it off a website. They may be paid by a company to go and just say this sort of thing, that you need these electrolytes, you need this protein, you need this product, rather than actually doing the research themselves. So that's something that I think is key.
Yeah. And the Train Smart Run Strong on her account, she does cite research. There's a lot of evidence backed, but then also how she personally applies that in her running. And it's also, I just find the format very entertaining and easy to watch. It's sometimes complicated information, but made simple and made entertaining too. So yeah, I suppose I probably should have started before I revealed my first pick. I actually had a bit of a selection methodology when I was thinking about who to have in my top 3. I don't know if you both did as well, because top of my list was some of the bigger accounts I follow on social media, but I see them more as either teams of people rather than influencers as individuals. And the running channel being a really notable one here, I see that as like a media business. Obviously, I see all the individuals as wonderful individuals within that. And I do think they share really entertaining reels and brilliant advice and research back. So I guess I just want to say at this point, there are lots of other accounts that do the things that I've just said are really positive about my picks. But I did discount some because I just felt like the content creation wasn't their primary thing that they did, or they were groups or businesses. So again, like My Coaching Collective, Running Explained, fantastic social media accounts, but I didn't include them within this category. Did you guys think about that at all? Like who you would select and would?
I'll quickly ask what I was going to. Did the person that you were just talking about, have you found since you've been watching her, has her content changed, evolved? I suppose is probably the better word. Or is it still basically the same?
Yeah.
And she stayed true to. It's probably something that I could probably ask right at the end about all of her choices. But I was just interested in this, because she's so facts based.
Yeah.
It's just been interesting to see how it's evolved from when you started watching it to.
I'm not sure it has. I think the brand and, to use Dan's word, the character has been the same throughout. Yeah, I can't really think of any noticeable differences. Maybe this needs a follow-up question in another episode. We can go away and do some more research.
When influencers go bad. Can I go back to your point, Sophia, actually, about the selection criteria? I actually deselected somebody for that reason. I chose 4D Runs because 4D Runs is an amazing organization, and Chris Ford is a very, very great man, done a lot of good things for running, doesn't get the credit that he deserves. And I thought about mentioning him, but the 40 Rungs organization is quite broad. And it's the same with the Running Channel. I mean, we obviously know that we're all fans of the Running Channel, do like their content. We're all members. We know the people in the Running Channel to speak to, not personally. Well, maybe Andre does, but I don't get Sarah Harding sliding into my DMs. So yeah, I see what you're saying about selection criteria, and I did apply that. And I thought solo content providers, and I kind of snuck this Messy Happy in there because they are a unit together.
Yeah.
And the other two, the final one, the he or the she or the they or the what, is a solo content provider, but they do work with other people and they do play with other people in that weird sense. Sorry, that sounds so strange saying they play with other people. Yeah. Well, no, I think I'm going to leave that one in. That sounds okay. Makes me sound we can't all be AIs, can we?
Not. So I guess that's yet another hint as to your third pick. But if we want to save them for last, shall we go back to you, Andre, for your third pick? Then I'll go, and then we'll finish with Dan's third pick.
So my third pick, even though we were talking about like groups on YouTube and things like that, mine is a single person from the Running Channel, at the Running Channel before he left. It's James Dunn, or the Morning Coffee Run. And my origin story with him actually starts a day before I started Andre Runs. So obviously we all know him through the Running Channel. So for me, he's instantly relatable, and he comes across as a person who is like honest, down to earth, encouraging, and he's always felt like someone that I could like personally relate to. And I remember watching his Comrades marathon video, and he said something right at the end, and it was, anyone can, I can't remember the exact words right, but it was just one of those emotional videos. And the quote that he said at the end has just always stuck with me. Can't remember it right now, but I know I've done I did a half marathon, and then I like words just, you find words, and then you've got a camera in front of you, and I thought, what would James do in this situation? And I said my words that I said at the time. Those, I think did it at the end of the London Marathon as well. Every time I have an inspirational thing, that's my inner James coming out.
I love that.
I've got to say, I watched that Comrades video because I was considering doing the Comrades marathon, and I watched his. I watched Ben Parks. I watched Ben's partner Sarah, her video of it, and multiple others, just to see what it was all about. And I quite sensibly decided it wasn't for me, possibly ever. It is a shame because it looks like an amazing race, and what he went through, you see it and you think to yourself, well, it's just about keeping going, really, isn't it? And he's not what you would call an athletic runner, is he?
Yeah, you can, without sounding too harsh. Yeah, it's.
Yeah, I didn't mean it negatively.
Yeah. But there'll be more people who have characteristics of James, even including myself. I see so much of me in him. He just looks like a normal guy. He's and he was the one person that I wanted to meet at the National Running Show in 2024. But this was before I'd really started watching the Running Channel properly, so I wasn't really bothered about the other presenters. It was basically just James that I wanted to see. And then I remember, I think I bought a Running Channel t-shirt, and I made sure that it was James that served me, and I got to speak to him, and I said, I just watched your Comrades video the night before, and it's so inspirational just being able to talk to you and everything like that. And I think he got quite emotional about it. It's not every day someone tells you that you're one of the reasons that you get inspiration to keep running, sort of thing. And he was like exactly the same person that you'd see on screen, off camera.
It's probably all he ever wanted, wasn't it, when he started? Just probably exactly why he was doing it. So to then hear it from you probably was, yeah, really special.
You mean all he ever wanted was Andre to speak to him? Because quite frankly, that was enough for me. You had me at hello, Andre. But if I can go back to the point where I hope people didn't think I was being derogatory about James. I've been a big fella running, and you feel so self-conscious when you're doing it. And people look at me now, and I still look at myself in the mirror, and I see that big chubby bloke who is struggling to get into an XL t-shirt and thinking, why am I even doing this? I haven't, as I'll say in a future video that I'm going to release soon, I need to update my software. I need to kind of change things in my head and say, well, you're no longer that person. You're no longer that speed. You're no longer that size. You're a different person. You're a better version of that person. So kind of get on and do it. So James, if you're listening, it wasn't meant to be derogatory in any way, shape or form. And I hope it didn't come across like that. But runners of all shapes and sizes, we can't all be speed goats. We can't all be skinny. It's not about that. And, vive la différence.
He's so knowledgeable in like I know he's on his own now. I know he's got I think a content creators management company sort of thing that he helps creators with. As a full circle, I spoke to him again at the National Running Show this year, and I remember he was walking with Philly Bowden and Dan. I let Philly and Dan walked past me, and then I was like, I'd gone straight for James. I didn't want to speak to Philly and Dan. I wanted to speak to James, and he gave me some advice about my YouTube channel. So, and then also when I was doing the London Marathon, I ran past him and we were chatting for a little bit while we were both doing that. So it's just nice, like full circle. He was there at the beginning of the journey, and then when I hadn't ran a 5K, 10K or anything like that, and then now to see him that I've done marathons, it was just a proper full circle. In terms of all three of the people, Harry inspired me to believe that I could become a runner. Mark gave me the push to start, and James arrived at exactly the point where I was ready to start sharing my journey.
Fabulous.
Yeah, really nice set of three. I don't have such a nice sort of thread running through mine, but I think with all of mine, they're all real people, all relatable. Yeah. And I think that is why the more to the point made earlier, the more people of different speeds, different types of running, different types of lifestyle, have they got kids, have they not got kids, they have a dog, all this stuff that makes people different also makes people really relatable. So my third pick is another American account, and there goes my dog, another American account, and that is Erin Azar or Azar. Again, not entirely sure on the surname because she goes by the alias of I'm Mrs. Space Cadet. That's the Instagram handle. She has so many followers, and I actually had to look up when her account started. It was kind of in the pandemic period, and I feel like she is maybe one of the first, sort of real runners, beginner runners. I think she started running, it was after her third child. So just coming at it from the very start. And her bio at the moment, I think, still says expert struggle runner. So she just talks about how it's hard, but she just has the most fantastic personality. If she wasn't a running content creator, I'm sure she would be, famous or internet famous for something else because she's just so funny. I think her account sort of scaled to the point where she was maybe even presenting some Olympics related content for the US, and she goes to lots of different sports, these big sports moments, and is given a mic and given presenting duties. So she's just a really fantastic personality. And yeah, I found her account because she was doing a series of reviews of shorts that her thighs don't gobble up. And as someone who can't really wear big flowy shorts because they just go north, and then you're not covering what you intended to have covered with the shorts in the first place. I just thought it was just so funny, just very real. She's constantly giving short 1 out of 5 because they're terrible and they're gobbled up. And yeah, I think a lot of people who aren't stick thin, aesthetic, super fast, super experienced runners probably found her content really relatable too. It's how she got so popular.
Yeah, I had a look through some of her content when you submitted the names to the show notes, and that comes across very clearly that she is somebody who uses the humor in her to express herself, and that's something that's missing with a lot of creators. there's nothing wrong with being dry and sensible and serious, but can sometimes go too far the other way. And it's finding that mix of kind of having the comedy that's funny and relevant, but also being able to convey a message across as well. And the best communicators can do that. And they'll sit down and they'll tell a story that's 4 or 5 minutes long, and it will feel like 30 seconds. And I mean, one of my particular favorites, and she, not a running influencer, and I think I've mentioned her before, Professor Hannah Fry, absolutely brilliant at communicating the message across to you. I've read a lot of her books. She's a really good writer. She's a really good presenter, really engaging person. And she just seems to get it, how to communicate in this world of social media.
Do we need to move on to your third choice now, Dan? Is that a good segue?
It sounds like this is the big present we've left to the end, and you're probably going to be disappointed. It's just a shower robe. It looked really big. It was a big box. Oh, never mind. So I'm going to say that this man is responsible for probably us three being in this virtual room together doing this podcast, in the sense that he started me on the journey, not because he said anything or did anything and said, you should go and do a channel yourself. So his name on socials is Middle-Aged Running Man. His actual name is Tim Stent, and he is a lovely chap, but he's also very, very witty and very, very sharp. And perhaps he sails very close to the wind, shall we say, with some of his humour. And he doesn't always hit the mark with me, but he's incredibly funny, incredibly engaging, to the point that if we're in the car and his podcast that he does with Andy Goldsby, Marmcast, if I say to my wife, oh, got a long journey, hour and a half, do you want to listen to Marmcast? She will not complain. She'll listen, she'll engage, and she will enjoy the podcast. So they make a podcast, him and Andy Goldsby, who he works with on things. They do this podcast together. But Tim also does videos on YouTube, and I met him at the Ironbridge Half a few years ago. It was my comeback race after I'd been hospitalised, and I was a bit nervous, and I saw this guy fiddling with a camera, and I just went up to him and started talking to him and just asked him about it. And then I watched a video later, and he mentions me, not specifically by name. He said, I should have got the guy's name. And he mentions me as the harbinger of doom or something like that, because I told him, and Andre will back me up on this, in the Ironbridge Half Marathon, you go down to the river, cross the river along a nice flat path, down a bit more, and then you go up Station Road, which is one of the steepest things you're ever going to climb in your life. And not only is he a really good raconteur, really good at telling a story, doing a video, making it humorous, making people feel good about themselves, but he's also pretty darn good runner as well. So he's closer to the 3-hour mark for a marathon than he is to 3.5. And he's been through a journey himself. It's improved his mental health, running has, he said, and also his health. He lost a lot of weight, and he's down to earth and he's real. And usually 20 minutes into the Marmcast, they will go, well, we better start talking about running. And if you're watching his running videos, they're not technical. He did try and do a shoe review once, and it just turned into just a very funny video about different types of shoes. And he just like, yeah, it looks nice. I don't really know, So, and he's kind of got well known around the area, and a lot of the other creators like myself have kind of like hooked up with him on occasions and been on Marmcast. I've been on it. Andre, you've been on it as well.
Yep, I have.
We both played Goldie on the guitar, which was the competition. And yeah, he's a lovely guy, and I like to big him up whenever I can. He's a solo creator. I mean, he's got a deal with a company called Invigorate, and does some very funny bits about Invigorate, which is an electrolyte drink. And they fit in there. When you see a video where somebody goes, and this video is sponsored by VPN, it really needs to be done cleverly so it engages you. So you don't just go, right, I'll just skip that bit. Otherwise, they might as well not have taken the money for advertising, and they may well not be part of it.
You said obviously he doesn't take himself too seriously. Even trying to do a serious review just kind of turned into something fun. I was going to ask if you thought, but you might know the answer, seeing as you actually know him kind of personally to chat to. Is the purpose of his account to have fun for himself, to share what he finds entertaining? Or do you think there's a underlying sort of purpose in, inspiring other people, in sharing his experiences so that others might find something in common? Or do you think it's just, I'm having so much fun doing this, I'm not going to stop, I'm going to keep doing what I enjoy?
He's definitely having fun doing this, and I don't think he's ever going to stop not having fun. The day that he stops enjoying it, he'll stop doing the videos, quite frankly. I think that would
Yeah.
probably be the way, because he's quite obviously a very clever man. He knows what he's doing when it comes to putting those videos together. Apparently, he does them all on a mobile phone, which is massively impressive. He doesn't use like a fancy laptop or fancy editing software. He just uses kind of like bog standard off the shelf stuff. And he managed to put together these 15-minute masterpieces that get thousands and thousands of views and likes and comments.
I can confirm that he does do everything on his phone. I think Andy Goldsby told me he's literally just films everything on his phone, does everything on his phone. It's just as creators, I just couldn't. I need to do it. I need to have it on the screen. It needs to be more or less perfect for me to do it. But it's commendable. I met him for the first time a couple of weeks ago at Arrow Valley Parkrun. He's such a nice guy, and there's always a funny joke that me and my wife have. He's literally the only runner that she'll watch because he's quite funny. He's not quite funny. He's very funny, and he just makes like little in jokes and everything like that. And it's always funny. Whenever I make my videos, I'll never film on my road. I've seen my road more times on his videos than anything, because he lives about 5 minutes away from me. So it's from seeing his videos, I probably know exactly where he lives. But obviously, it's the content creator's code.
Yeah.
We'll never say anything. But he's such a nice bloke, and I really enjoy watching like local creators do their thing, and just watching them evolve from where they were to how great their content is like right now. First watched him a few years ago, I was trying to sign up for the Solihull 10K, I think it was at the time, and I saw that he'd done a video on it, so I watched it and just like, it's this local guy, he must know what he's doing. And I started watching him from there. So it might have been it's probably like 2 years ago. It's not quite on my list of people to who've influenced me, but he's definitely up there, and I've got that added respect for him because he's a local guy, as well.
It was your appearance on Marmcast that made me think, I best check out this Andre and see what this running channel malarkey, because I knew about the running channel. I followed them on Instagram and Facebook and on YouTube, but I wasn't a member of the club, so to speak. I thought, I can't be dragged into another app. God's sake. And the next thing I know, I'm paying my money every month and getting advert-free podcasts, which is an absolute boon, because when you get the same adverts like played at the start, it's such a pain. But as a member of the club, you get the podcast ad-free, and you get extra podcasts and extra content as well. And you get to, that's one of the good things. I mean, none of us went for the running channel, but I don't think I'm saying anything too outlandish here, but the running channel is just so polished and professional. Even the bits that look unprofessional and unpolished are really good. They know what they're doing. Sarah's done drama obviously at university in Birmingham, not the good university. She was at University of Birmingham, not University College Birmingham. And Rick Kelsey's trained in media. He presents TV programs and things like that. And Anna Harding as well she knows what she's doing. And all the other guys, and it's just a very slick professional operation on the screen. It looks really good. The content's really good, and I really, really enjoy it.
The range of different types of runners as well. I love the fact that they've got there could always be more diversity, but I love that there is a spectrum of different types of runners, different preferences, different, gender, demographic, whatever else. I think that is definitely what drew me to it in the first instance, was like, actually, yes, this is like a little microcosm of what running actually looks like out in the world.
There's definitely something for everyone within the running channel presenters. I think the one thing I found when I was doing one of their videos when we did the marathon relay, trying to get a sub 2.5 hours, just being able to see the behind the scenes of them making a video, that was, for me as someone who makes my own videos, it's really nice to see the work that like Owen and George put in, and it's and the other behind the scenes staff as well. It was nice from a one-man band creator to be able to see, it might be very segregated and separated, everything like that, but they do such hard work to make it a polished production right at the end of it. It gave me a different aspect of how I wanted to make my content.
But Andre, if I might ask you a question, as somebody like me who is, and again, I'm going to do this in italics with quote marks around it, a creator, do you like the freedom of being able to go, do you know what? I can say what I like about this. I can express myself freely. I can take this wherever I want it to go. I don't have to follow a certain corporate line. I'm not saying that the running channel are a corporate line, but what I'm saying is that as an individual, you do have a lot more freedom to choose what you do, where you go. Like, for example, I can choose whichever event I want to do. I'm sure that they love going to do the Tokyo Marathon. Aubrey, I'm sure, loved doing that. But at the same time, was that in his plan? I don't think it was, because I think Anna was originally down to go and do that. But because of a number of things that happened, injury and such like, and life getting in the way, it didn't really work out that way for her. So I think Aubrey kind of got involved in that side of things. So those are our choices. I'm certainly going to be looking at your choices as well and seeing what they've got to offer. Are you going to be looking at mine? I mean, obviously, Andre, I know you kind of talk about Mom quite a bit.
Yeah, I've got some more accounts I need to follow after seeing your lists.
Yeah, I've written everything down on my iPad, so I'm going to follow them, except Mom, who I'm already following. But yeah, everyone, and We Run Nuts as well. I'm already following them as well. So yeah, everyone else, I'll definitely follow and share the love.
Should we go and do a cool down then?
Yep.
Yes.
Let's do it. This is the Chatty Runners Podcast.
So those are our favourite running creators, and hopefully we've introduced you to a few new names for anyone listening who's looking for some inspiration. I think it's really interesting that none of us have actually talked about people who are like properly fast runners. We've talked about people who have inspired us, challenged us, made us laugh, taught us something, or even changed the direction of our own running journey. If you've got a favourite running creator that we haven't mentioned, we'd generally love to hear who they are and why they stand out for you. But for now, we've reached the end of the main run, and it's time to ease the pace a little, catch our breath, and head into this week's cool down. So today's question is, what's one piece of running advice you've learnt the hard way that you'd wished everyone else would skip the suffering on? So I'm going to go to you, Sophia.
I don't know if I have an answer. I've got like 3 different things swirling around in my head. I was hoping you'd go somewhere else first. It's a boring one, and I think I'm still learning it the hard way. But pacing yourself, even when you think you're starting slow in a race or in a hard effort in a session or something, you're probably going too fast. And I think trying to conserve effort, it never hurts to have a standout rep or a standout finish whereby you suddenly can pick up the pace at the end. But it definitely hurts if you go out too fast and then you're suffering for it afterwards. So I'm still finding the best ways to do that. I've had times where I'll look at my watch to check my pace, and then other times where I think that's not that helpful and I try to do it by feel, and I'm still not sure what the best way to do it is. But if I could take away the lesson learning process for every other runner and just let them get that right every time, I would do that with my magic wand.
What were your other ones, just out of curiosity?
So fueling was one. And then a really sort of small one was based on the fact that I'm doing more strength training again now. Last week, I went to do my long run after doing a gym session in the evening before. So, evening before gym, early morning the next day, a run. And I've always thought, oh, it's fine. If you go out early, you get out there before your legs realize they're tired from the gym because it's only been 12 hours or something. And that works if you're doing an easy run, but it doesn't work if you're trying to do any kind of pace or hard effort. So I learnt that the hard way last weekend, even though I probably had already learned that lesson a million times before. So yeah.
You Dan, what's the running advice that you've learned the hard way?
Very, very simple. Cut your toenails. Not be plainer than that. Cut your toenails before a race, maybe even a week before, so they've got a chance to just kind of the jagged bits to kind of calm down a little bit, because I didn't cut them well enough before the London Marathon. And I think that contributed to some very black toenails and possibly even losing a toenail or two. So, yeah, this is the unpleasant bit of the show. I always kind of lower the tone, don't I? So that's my one thing I would say to people is before a race, cut your toenails.
And my lesson is pretty much simply, probably loads of people at some point in their journey, you don't have to earn the title of a runner. I think that helped me a lot when I started out running, because I never thought I was a runner. Even to this day, I think I'm too slow, but it doesn't mean I don't see that other people are. Everyone else is a runner, but I just have that. I'm very self-critical, and I just think I'm too slow. But I think that I do consider myself as a runner now, but it took me so long to be able to identify as a runner, and I do honestly think that it held me back. I'm probably guilty of comparing myself to faster runners. You can never judge anyone else that way. I only judge myself to such high standards. I'm sure both of you are like exactly the same way. And for me, until you realize that the moment that you decide to go for a run, whatever pace that is, jog or whatever, that's the moment that you're a runner. The pace doesn't ever define you. Distance doesn't define you. Medals don't define you. Once you take that left foot, right foot, whatever, that's when you become a runner.
I think this kind of feeds into something I said earlier in the show when about updating your software and making sure that you've got your brain in the right place and that you are not thinking that you are a 7 and 8 minute per kilometer person, that you're actually faster than that and you're better than that and you know what you're doing. It's quite clear. I know that I need to update my software in my brain and stop thinking of myself as that fat bloke who did Stockholm and start thinking of myself as that bloke that ran round Manchester in 3 hours 35. Again, bragging.
Yeah.
But I'm not the fat bloke. I've got to stop hovering over the button for the XL t-shirt as well. And that sort of thing. It's just update your software, get your brain in the right place, and you'll be good.
Yeah, I don't disagree with having the right head on your shoulders and being proud of what you've done and really claiming it and sort of living in that attitude. But I don't know, you said update your software so you don't think of yourself as a X pace runner or an X size runner. I'd go a step further than that to say that you shouldn't, that's not important at all. Is it pace or is it effort? Are you a runner that pushes themselves? Are you a runner that enjoys making progress? It's tricky because ultimately we do measure our races via time on the clock. But yeah, I just think the less labels we put on ourselves, the better sometimes, in terms of I'm this kind of pace, or I'm that, this size means these things about me, because it really doesn't. It's a whole spectrum. Yeah, it's probably a really deep topic to cover another day.
I suppose it's just getting to that point where you can accept yourself being a runner. You know, for me, it's just I was able to just enjoy it more. I don't know what was the catalyst that allowed me to say I'm a runner now, but you know, it's definitely become part of my identity now. And I feel from that moment, it's maybe become more confident about my running. You know, I'm still very ultra critical on myself. I feel like I'm always out of breath or I'm always tired, and then I look at everyone else and it's just like they look like that, like they're jogging or something like that. You know, it doesn't even look like they're trying. Whereas I'm just, I'm still behind everyone else, and it's, I'm in a better place now. You know, if I could go back and tell that previous version of me who just started running one thing, it would be that, you know, stop waiting for permission to call yourself a runner. If you run, you're a runner, and that's all there is to it.
Well said, mate. Well said.
Maybe a spoiler alert for the weekend plans, but I can be out of breath, looking very tired and very slow, and possibly even walking for some of the park tomorrow. So don't worry about that.
And like that, the pod is drawing to a close. I just want to say thank you. Firstly, to Andre, thank you for your choices for your influences. They have given me food for thought. I knew a few of them, but I do a bit more digging into those. And Sophia's, yours were completely different to anything I've ever encountered. I guess that's kind of the difference of the kind of people that we are, that the algorithm thinks that we need to be like or would be interested in. Would you agree?
Agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Sophia, do you want to give us your socials?
Yeah. I'm on Instagram at Sophia the Runner.
Okay. That's it. Nothing else. We've not yet convinced you to do TikTok or YouTube or anything else like that now. And you very sensibly stay away from Twitter or X or whatever it's called now, because quite frankly, it's hell. Andre, give us your handles.
Catch me at Andre Runs on Instagram, YouTube, TikTok, everything. I just spread myself everywhere.
Absolutely. Never too thinly, though. Always get plenty of Andre. And I'm Other Adventures Await Me on YouTube and on Instagram. I'm also on Facebook as Other Adventures Await Me. And tomorrow is a very special day. So the three of us are heading to the wild forest. I make it sound like it's the middle of nowhere. It's quite tame compared to some forests. It's the Wyre Forest in is it Herefordshire or Worcestershire? I can never.
Yeah,
Worcestershire,
Kidderminster and Bewdley.
Yeah, and we're going to go and do the park run there. We're going to run, and I'm going to film some content, and I'm sure Andre will film some content, and maybe a little bit of content for the Chatty Runners. I've got a little surprise for you guys tomorrow, but
I'm intrigued.
I'll ask you about that tomorrow morning. So there's no, so you it's nothing dodgy, don't worry. Anyway, you can also follow us at the Chatty Runners podcast on Instagram. You can email us at chattyrunners@gmail.com. And that's it. That's the show. I hope you've enjoyed it. We've made it to number 7. As I said, one for every day of the week. And I haven't even mentioned kind of like famous number 7s or people saying the number 7 on a show. That kind of gets a bit boring now.
Was that a Strictly reference?
It was a Strictly reference. Len Goodman, 7. Done it now. Too late. You've ruined it. So let's draw this to close. So goodbye, Sophia. I will see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Andre, goodbye. I will see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
If you want to do the same to Sophia and say, I'll see you tomorrow, and go around in circles like this. But anyway, we get the message. Anyway, this is a messy ending to the show, but, we've got to end it somehow. So thank you so much for listening. Please check out our other episodes if you haven't already. If you've just discovered this one, it's just popped up in your feed. Anyway, this has been the Chatty Runners podcast, and we'll see you all again in the future. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.